this way, I get a thick line. Alright, let's do that again. See a thin line, a thick line. Now part of it is, you know, how you sharpen the pencil and you work with it. I'm going to switch really quick. I've got that one worn out for sharpening. But here's what happens if you hold the pencil the same way and you make a curved line. You come down, it starts thin, and as you round around, you're getting to the thicker part of the pencil, your line gets thicker and heavier. So this is something, with a little practice, you can do quite well and get some real interesting variation of line. Later on with cartooning, we'll talk about why this idea of thick to thin or thin to thick is an important quality of line and an important tool that you can use while you're creating and working with drawing. Remember again, we're drawing the first element of drawing, which is line. And part of the reason for starting with line is you all write, you know how to write, you've used a pencil before, and you've worked with line. We're just holding the pencil a little different and using line in a more flowing, quick fashion because it's an art technique. So here we are, we're going to work at some cartooning, and I want to show you a couple examples of some cartoons or some cartoon ideas and some concepts about cartooning. One of the first concepts that you want to deal with is the idea of exaggeration. And what you might do is take a particular character or a particular feature, we're going to be working with faces today, and exaggerate. Okay, here's some really quick examples. The exaggeration in this one, the eyes are just little tiny dots, and the nose is quite large, and the chin is huge in this example. And it gives a very different kind of look or feel to the drawing. You don't exaggerate everything, in other words, make everything big, everything small. Use a variety of large and small. Here's another one where the chin is really extreme, the mouth is quite small, and here the eyes are like, well, the letter 6 or something of that shape. So there's a lot of kinds of things that you can work with. Now in this one, what happened is everything was elongated, where this one it's kind of smashed together. So we're talking about exaggeration. Couple other just quick examples to kind of give you an idea. This is a profile cartoon, very quickly done, where the forehead and into the nose is greatly exaggerated, where the rest of the features are quite small or maybe not even completely drawn in, and the hair is just kind of a little bushy thing. So part of what I'm showing here is cartoon can be very simple, using simple line, simple exaggeration. Another example. In this one, what I chose to do was exaggerate the fat puffy cheeks and the nose a little bit. Here the eyes and the mouth are very limited. There's hardly anything here. Here's one that's all hairdo with a little tiny face down here in the middle of it. So again, what we're talking about is exaggeration. How to make something extreme or leave something out. Here's another one. Look at this one where the top of the head is very small and the bottom of the chin is huge and bold and strong. Alright? So we're going to work with some of those things. Also, just to show you some examples, cartoons can be more involved. Here's one where this is a little more realistic that's done. There's actually done some shading and some other things in here. The proportions are fairly close to realistic, but this particular gentleman had a rather large and round nose, so the line was exaggerated to bring out that feature of his nose. He also had a very strong chin line. So if you're going to work with characterization, which is when you usually take a cartoon and you're looking at a person or working from a person, you want to look for the characteristics that seem strongest in their face and then exaggerate them and work with that kind of thing. This is a lot harder and really comes a little further down the line as far as what you're working with. So I'm going to flip over to a new page, and what I want to do here as we're working is I want to show you that you don't just sit down and draw a cartoon. You should kind of plan and think about what you want to do and approach it as a sketch. One of the places where many people, I think, get discouraged in the beginning of drawing is they think about something they want to draw and they sit down and try to draw it in 1 or 2 lines instantly. There are some artists who can do that, who've been drawing for years and years and years. And part of the reason they can do it is because of a technique that I've already been showing you and explaining to you, but they don't practice in a little different ways. And let's just talk about that again. Notice I talked about in sketching that I drew an imaginary drawing on my paper. Like if I was going to do a circle, is it going to be a little circle? Is it going to be a medium circle? Or is it going to be a full page circle? The idea of planning or making an imaginary drawing. You know, you've probably seen somebody take, on the 4th of July, you take a sparkler, you know, and sparkler's lit, and you go real fast through the air like this, where the point of that sparkler is, it stays in the sky just long enough that you can see a line being drawn or beginning to be drawn in front of you. In fact, there's some advertising that's using that same technique on TV ads today. But the idea is you're creating an image and kind of mapping it out before you even make a pencil line on the paper. And that's what I would like to try to get you used to doing, is thinking about looking at your sheet and imagining on your sheet first, and then begin to sketch, then begin to draw lines. So what I'm going to play with right now is I want to try to show you that technique, and I think what works is to come up with, well, let's see, what do I want to draw today? I think I'm going to try to play around and see if I can come up with a cartoon of a frog. Alright, so going to our paper, the first thing I want to think about is, you know, well, what is a frog like? A frog has kind of a large, rounded body. So again, I'm kind of, you know, where would that frog body be? His head is kind of wide and flat, and they got big eyes that stick up above the top of their head. They're kind of what alligators have, the same kind of thing. And they have, their back legs are very, very long. Alright, so I'm kind of thinking rounded body, maybe a football shaped kind of head, big buggy eyes, and very large back legs as the frog is sitting here. So hopefully, as I've been moving on my page here, you're beginning to see the potential for a large frog cartoon beginning to happen on the page. Alright? And that's the important thing. Somebody who has been drawing for years and just can sit down and go like this, what you don't see as they're drawing is that imaginary drawing that they've done in their mind on the paper before the pencil ever touches the page. And they can do that because they've drawn so much. They have a very large reference of shapes and sizes and images in their mind from experience. But learning to draw, anybody can learn to do that. You just start at the beginning to build your library. And what I'm trying to show you is a technique for doing that. So hopefully you've got some paper and pencil available. Let's see if we could come up with a frog. So again, first of all, and I'm not even going to use my pencil, I'm going to just kind of use my hand. I want the body to be about this size. So you see I've got my pencil in the right position, and I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to slowly bring the pencil down, and I'm going to make a sketch of a circle. Alright, this sketch again should be as light as you possibly can make it. I have to draw a little darker here just because that's what's necessary to show up on the TV screen. Talked about his head maybe being somewhat of a football shape, so I think what I'll do is come up here, it's low and flat, and begin to sketch in kind of a large oval here that's going to represent where our frog's head is going to go. Okay, so here's his body, here's his head, and he's going to have huge legs, and so he's sitting, And so it's like when you sit, your knees are going to be high in the